live in a second. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. Well, I've got a very nice guest on my show today. Her name is Mercedes Luque Benedict. She's well known for her paranormal, supernatural life and her work in, I think it's cranial, sacral, TMJ therapist and remote viewing frequency. And she's Neela. She got a book out called Through the Veil.
Ooh.
Can we please welcome Mercedes to the show? Hello there.
Yay, thank you so much I love being on the show. I love the show. I had fun the last time and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you very much indeed. How
I'm
did it
going
all
to
start for you? How did
I'm
it
going
all
to
start for you?
How did it all start with me?
Yes.
Whoa, that's a long story. I'm going to try to be on the chat. So I'm going to, while I'm talking, I forgot to do this and I apologize. I wanted to make sure that I could see the
You
chat a
can.
little bit.
You can. Your
Can you
screen
hear
up
me?
the top of the left, right-hand
Oh,
side in comment. Click on that.
okay. I'm
Click on.
I'm kind of new. I mean, we've only had our big computer like a couple of weeks. So I'm learning how to do everything. I've done everything on my phone since I got my iPhone. I mean, I literally created the documentary on my phone.
Yeah.
We have our
If you click,
documentary.
if you click
So
on
yeah.
comment,
So now I'm on the big screen, and it's really neat to be able to use this technology now on the big screen. So let's see how I started. It's It really started with the two accidents that I had, and they were back to back accidents. And we talked about this in the last time, but it was those two accidents. They were near death experiences. The first one, I literally went up out of my body, and I felt myself, flying up out of my body, looking down at myself at the car, and the car was completely smashed. And I just felt like that I was going to be dead at that moment. But I went back into my body. The people were screaming, and I just whooshed back into my body. And that set forward a bunch of days and months of pain where I couldn't walk. My whole life was just pretty much ripped apart at that moment because it was almost like a commercial that you see. Like I'd always seen those commercials about car accidents, but I'd never really been in one. And so I went into that world of, you know, your life is pretty much in chaos, and I couldn't walk. But I was lucky and thankful. God blessed me with knowing a person that was going to be instrumental in actually helping me to heal. And I ended up going to work for this person. And I do speak about this in my new book, which I'm really honored to be able to actually have this book written and be able to share my story about what happened. And so a few months later, like literally, I think it was 4 months later, I was in another accident where the same thing happened. It was like, instead of flying up out of my body this time, I just felt like a cocoon had come over myself and my son as we were spinning. And the car was rolling on the highway in San Simon,
oh
Arizona, or
my
New
God.
Mexico, wherever it is. I think it's in Arizona, because I was coming back from that airport in New Mexico, and it was right after Thanksgiving, and I had a wonderful trip, saw my family, and then, again, I was catapulted into yet another horrible, accident that would, you know, almost my son was in the car at the same time. And so that was frightening. But I felt like God had placed a cocoon over us, an energetic cocoon. And
Yeah.
that's what I felt. And I felt it whoosh all over, just around us. And we were okay. Like everything was demolished in the car. The windows were all out. my son just had a tiny cut on his leg, and I
Oh
was
my.
I was fine. I didn't even have any problems because I was still recovering from the last one,
Yeah.
and it didn't add anymore. So it was at those moments in my life that God had given me these abilities. These abilities came into me, or they awakened in me, and that would then become a learning experience because I had to relearn my life and relearn health and wellness and a completely different life. And then I went to work for the doctor that saved my life, and I can say I do believe he saved me from a life of pain. And I then, instead of being, I was going to school for massage therapy, and I wasn't even finished yet, and that's when these accidents happened. So I could not finish my school, but I had to go back and finish my school when I got better. So it was a pretty traumatic time, but when I look back at it now, I say to myself, thank God it happened. Like, thank you, God, because I was
Yes.
on yeah, I was on a path that, I mean, I don't know, but we all have our paths, but I was on this other path. And then what's neat though is that I've somehow, especially the last few years, I've become back into all my paths. All my paths have linked up that I used to do, being an actress, singer, songwriter, theater person, impersonator person. I mean, I just did so many different things, and I kind of had a flighty. I don't know. I was very. I think I wasn't really in my body most of my life. I think it was. I think that's why I was a good actress too, because I could take in a lot of other people. I feel like spirits. When I look back now, I feel like I was always being able to. Spirits could come through me. Only I didn't understand that's what it was, because personalities could kind of come out, or different things, and now I
Mm.
realize that is very much a big part of what they do. And so, long story short, I um, since the pandemic, I kind of went on my own. I worked for this doctor for almost 15 years, 14 years. And I kept everything that I had learned and done, working with pretty much just in our office and with our patients. And it wasn't until, and I literally, honestly, I thought that I would be continuing with this doctor. I really thought we had our program that I was going to be running. I ran the cranial sacral TMJ program. And that's what he had helped me with, because I was so hurt. My jaw was hurt. My sacrum was hurt. I couldn't walk. So we worked on
Oh
that.
my
And
God.
that's what I am. I have become a cranial sacral myofascial uh, technician. And that's what I worked with patients that had TMJ and all kinds of things from all over the world. They would come to the office. But it was through this that I started doing the energy work too. So, I mean, energy work, healing work. But I kind
Yeah.
of did it in the confines of the office in a way, where I had my own beautiful space. And spirit started to work through me. And it's really been a wonderful journey. And I'm very thankful I'm still here and alive. And every day it's like a miracle that I have another chance to live.
It
And
wasn't your time.
yeah,
Wasn't your time.
it wasn't, both of those times weren't my time. And I have
No.
to say that there was another one. I had become so depressed. I think it was like a year before that, or maybe even months before that. So I don't like to think about it very often, but I don't mind sharing it, because if it could help one person, it would be great. I
Correct.
mean, I did try to take my life, and that right before this accident. It was months before, but I had become so depressed and so messed up, like so sad, that I felt that was my only choice. And I'm so glad it didn't work.
Difficult.
Yeah, because I would have never seen all the amazing things that God had in store for my life. It was
You
just like
wouldn't.
yeah, it was like God. I mean, there it was like, no, you're not this. Maybe I had to go through that experience. I had to understand what that would be like too, because
Probably.
yeah, either way, it all worked out. And I would like to say to people, like, if you're thinking that way, you're so depressed, like, you know, it's just, if you could just keep going and get through it, and there's something amazing that your life could turn out to be, even at your darkest hours. Like,
Yeah.
I've had a great life. I got to do so many wonderful things, but it didn't matter. I got in to a place where I was so sad that none of that mattered, and I just wanted to end it. So,
Hmm.
so thankful that God was watching me, and God was with me, and my
God.
angels were with
He
me.
was,
And
he
they
was,
knew I had this other life coming.
he was
Yeah,
guiding you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and you had your crushes. Did you get any voices from anywhere? Did anybody say, "Don't you worry, you're going to be safe"?
That came later. So, and that's so interesting you said those words. I mentioned that in the book because that's one of the things. As I healed, I did not hear, I heard, because I'm a songwriter, I would get
Yes.
songs. I would get songs all the time. They would just come in threes usually. And all of a sudden, the whole song would be there. Sometimes the whole production would be there in my mind, everything. But I didn't hear any voices, and I didn't see any spirits. And it was like, I that wasn't even my world. But after the accident, I remember waking up one morning, and I was given the gift of being able to live, because I lost everything. I lost my rental home. I lost my car. I mean, I lost everything. And I was given the opportunity to live at a really nice person's house and rebuild my life. And I remember waking up in the spare bedroom that she had, and I heard this voice singing to me. Okay,
Oh,
this was like the one of the first times I'd heard the same voice singing to me, as I had been driving down the hill from the Tucson mountains. But it was like very light, and so this, but it was the same voice this time, and he was singing the song, and the song was saying, "It's all right, it's all right, it's all right, don't be afraid, it's all right." But it was like this angelic voice that was
oh,
so beautiful, and he was going, "I will walk with you on the water, and I will fly with you to the sun, because you are my loving daughter, and your life has just begun. It's all right."
lovely.
I mean, it just kept going on and on and on, and it repeated those words. And I was like waking up, and I'm listening, and I'm like, I hear this voice. It's singing to me. And I'm like, it did not stop. So I was able to take my time and write it down. And that was a life altering experience for me too, because the voice had started coming back more then. And it one day I woke up, and I heard, "You need to start um, a show on Jolt Radio." And I'm like, what? Because I hadn't been in a show in like several years, like on the radio, because I used to be on the radio, um,
Yes.
on a show. And so this was years later. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay. And so I got that it's supposed to be called Team CST, Connecting Spirit Together. Just everything, just like that, Bob. And so I'm like, okay. So I guess, by then I already knew God was working with me. I just felt God was with me, or that the
Oh, yeah.
angels. So I literally called the radio station the next day, and I said, "What does it take to get on to do a radio show?" And they said this, and that, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I want to do a radio show called." And I mean, and I got the radio show, and I was on Jolt Radio. It's an AM talk show, and I had sponsors. I had all kinds of stuff going on.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And so that was, and then after that, I got on the BBS radio. And all this while, I'm still a cranial sacral therapist. But then we went through that. It was a really bad depression or whatever you call it. What's when all the world's crashing and like in Dallas, or not Dallas, but in Arizona, like the economics were really bad
Oh
at
yeah.
this. Yeah, and so like it was weird. You'd walk by and it was almost like the pandemic, but there was so many businesses that lost their businesses
Yeah,
at this
that's
time.
it.
I lost a lot of my sponsors, and so it wasn't long after that that I stopped doing that radio station and went on to internet radio, which was BBS radio, and that was really fun too. So I've had a lot of, but I listen to that voice, and so that's one of the things I do. I try to listen. I do my best to whenever I hear a message, I listen to that message. I talk a lot. I'm sorry, I talk too
It was,
much.
no, it was a great message. It inspires you to write more.
Yeah, it works. And the song, after that, I started doing my music again then. But I did, there was a point of time where I had to make a choice. And because I was letting my love for my music really pull me away from wanting, and my child. So I had a child. Um, but I really decided I had to make a choice. And so I really left the radio biz, I left the music. I had to focus on taking care of my son. And so I really focused on my career as the therapist. And, it, it was the right choice at that time. And I'm glad I did, because I'd been always so focused on acting and singing and bands and music that, when I went through a divorce, that, you can't always do everything. You
You
can't
can't.
old life and have to rebuild a new life, especially as a single mom. So it was very interesting how God interlaced things. But when I stand here today and I look back, I say to myself, "Thank you, thank you, God, because this has been a very interesting life." And I do talk about a lot. I just talk about the book is really. I didn't even know I was going to write a book, but I was told, Mercedes, write a book. So I said, okay. So I started just to do this, and I really am glad. It's been like a therapeutic type of fun. What
Yes.
would that be, Bob? It's like a therapeutic, like it's been therapeutic for me to write, talk about all the stuff that's happened.
God, it's like amazing story what's happened to you, and how they've guided you.
Yeah,
Sometimes when things are low, and then next minute the high, and then the low, and then
yeah.
you've come out of it completely now, and back to what you love doing and doing
Yeah,
radio as well.
I know. And that was so funny because, the pandemic, that was that was so horrible and for everybody. But like I really thought I had found my deal. I was really thankful to be at this with the doctor, working with the doctor. And then all of a sudden our business, it was shut down. I'm like, what? Like what? I was like, I was so into helping people. And I mean, like, I'll post my memories now on Facebook all the time. I had this dark hair. I mean, I've had so many different hair colors, but I mean, I was so into my work and healing people and helping people. And I was just like, what? Like, so that was really weird. But now I understand, that was another path too that could have happened. Like if that would have continued on, I wouldn't have really been able to go and this other path wouldn't have happened, which I was told by Kev Dave Baker, because our house was haunted and I was on the show KBS with Kev Dave Baker after our very first deliverance on our property, which we've talked about before on this. Um, and he was saying, Mercedes, he was from Scotland. He said, Mercedes, you must go back. You felt like I should be on a show, right on my own show. And I'm like, well, I
Hmm.
haven't done that in so long, but I thought that sounds right. So I started to build slowly a little podcast called Unveiling Mystery, because that's really what I was about, trying to unveil the mystery of this property and our lives in the spirit world. And so I did that about a year, and then I got on with the web radio network, which I'm still on now. And then I changed it because I wanted to interview people from all, not just about mystery. I wanted to interview actors, and I wanted to interview all kinds of people
Yeah.
musicians and all kinds of people. So I decided, well, I'll call it the Mercedes Lucky Benedict Show. And I'm just so thankful I did that, all three. And then I went into, we just switched it. I just ended the Mercedes Lucky Benedict Show. And now I'm working with a co host, which I hope he can be on your program someday. He's an exorcist. He's with the Order of St. Michael
Oh,
Order
yeah.
of Exorcists. And his name is Bishop Joshua Sparks. And he's so wonderful, and I love that they are connected with me through the Unseen Realm, which I'm the co-producer of, and that's every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so, with all this, I just felt like this is what God wants me to do now. God wants me to take the mysteries again and really delve into, kind of like what you do. You really delve into people's what they're doing, and I've listened to your shows, and I love listening to the guests. They really get a chance to really talk, like I'm doing right now. But yeah, so it's called Explaining the Unexplainable, and we just recently have several. I think we've got 4 episodes, 4 or 5 now, and
Brilliant.
Brett Thomas, who you've had on your show with
Oh, yeah,
Paranormal,
Brett. Yeah.
my friend Brent, he was
Great
just
guy.
on. Oh, he's so much. He made me laugh so much on last Tuesday. He was on our show for the first time, and so shout out to Paranormal Portal. He's amazing, and Brent Thomas. But it's just been really interesting, Bob. Like I don't know, how does this stuff always work out? I mean, it's pretty neat how spirit moves, isn't it?
Spirit moves in different ways. Um, I can think of someday, and then all of a sudden somebody gets in touch with me, and I think, oh, how strange was that? Or I'll get my phone up, and I think, nobody's rang me today, and phone rings.
Yeah.
It rings in my hand. And I thought, how strange is that? I've only said nobody's rang me today, and it rings. But
Wow.
spirit does that in certain ways. Lots of different things happen. You can be
Yeah.
thinking of somebody, and the next minute you bump into them in the street, and you might have not seen them for months. You turn the corner, and they come right face to face with you,
Yeah, and
and
you've been
they say the same thing. I was thinking about you, Bob. I said, strange enough, I was thinking about you. But spirits does that, and I think sometimes it helps you as well. If you're feeling down a bit, spirit comes round you, some cheers you up. They might move something. You think, who's done that? Who's in here? Come on, where are you? Show your face.
do you
Come on.
do you have a lot of spirit activity where you're at in your house?
Oh, in this flat, I do. Yeah, yeah. I've had a electronic voice phenomena. I was doing a show one night, like I'm sat here, and my mate with Paul was sat inside of me, and I was interviewing Andrew Collins from Ancient Aliens. He's a friend of ours, me and Paul's friend.
Wait, now what?
And he
Now
was
I
talking,
just started watching that show. I have never, because we don't have TV, so I started getting the DVDs. I love Ancient Aliens.
yeah, well,
I'm, I'm really,
Andrew's a regular on there, and yeah, I'm interviewing him. He's talking about interdimensional,
yeah.
and a voice comes through the laptop, says, explain it.
What? What?
I, we never heard it, but at the time, the producer of the show, when we finished, said, Bob, did you hear a voice? I went, no. She said, I'll get Jennifer to enhance the call and I'll get back to you. And it does. It says, explain it really loud.
He said, explain.
Anyway, I got somebody who's got, he's a record producer. I got him to, Paul knows him quite well. He does a lot of work with Robbie Williams. And he went into his all his equipment, and he says it's not coming from the studio, it's not coming from Andrew's end, it's coming from that room I'm sat in. That voice came from.
Oh my goodness.
So it came from behind us somewhere, from me and Paul. That voice came through. And you just can't believe that a voice can come through like that.
No,
and it was electronic voice phenomena.
Yeah. That's so cool. And did you say they said explaining?
Explain it. What Andrew was talking about, interdimensional.
Oh.
They wanted Andrew to explain it more. And when I sent it Andrew, he said he couldn't believe the voice.
Wow.
So, I've got it on my computer somewhere. I should have saved it more. I could have played it, and how strange it was.
Well, here at this house in Marana, Arizona, where I'm at, we were on the Dead Files episode called "Damned in the Desert," and so people that see that, some lady just watched it the other day, and she's like, "Oh my God!" I mean, it was a really bad, traumatic time for us, but we made it through that with the help of God, and thank God, God really came in then. We were told to leave, and but at that time, I had not had actual EVP or any work done here. We had tons of people coming out to help us, a lot of shaman and medicine men and all kinds of people. But one of the groups that I absolutely am so grateful for is called the Tucson Ghost Society. And Becky McKitty Guidus and is this woman. And so I actually got to be at the Paracommon talk, I think it was 2 years ago now, but to talk about what happened. But that she waited, she couldn't come out during, they'd seen us on the Dead Files. Oh, sorry, I got like something on my nose. They seen us on the Dead Files, but we had we had the lockdown, right? So we were locked down in this house. And by the time I could actually have somebody even come out after another year, after the Dead Files had come out here in November, by November the following year, it was, I think I was pretty much on my way out. When I was on that show, I looked so, I was very sick. So I found out that I was actually septic. So when you see me on the Dead Files, I wasn't feeling well. And so found out just like the next couple of days there was a septic issue happening in my stomach and my body. And that correlated with what they had seen and what others had seen, was a spirit connected into my body. And it's so easy to talk about it now, but then it wasn't. It was not easy to talk about. But one of the things that happened during the process after the Dead Files, a year after, right before our first exorcism, we had the Tucson Ghost Society was able to come out, and they were able to, bring the whole crew out, a huge amount of people, and set up all their equipment everywhere. And so this was right before the first exorcism. So I have everything all, it's all documented.
Yeah.
And they found Bob the first time. I got used to it after this, but the very first time when I heard what was here, actually, I heard them anyway, because we all heard them. We saw spirits, we saw the ghosts, we saw shadow people. We saw all that. But this was my first time to actually have an EVP of what was happening in here. And there was voices, voice phenomenon, and all kinds of phenomena which we could hear with their equipment. And then, we go to get the exorcisms. There was three different ones, or we call them deliverances. I think it was an exorcism of the property, and then
Right.
the deliverances of the people. I didn't know at the time. Now that I'm on the unseen realm with all the exorcists of the Order of Exorcists, I learn a lot about what it was, and I really believe that the property was the property was bloodstained, and so I even remember Amy Allen saying to us at the time when they were here on the Dead Files crew, she said, you should leave this property because it's coming after you
No
and
say.
all of this, but it was coming after me. But she said, you should really make this into like a research hub because there's so much stuff here, so much activity. And at that time, we're like, what? We were distraught anyway. I mean, I'm crying the whole way through that show. It was horrible. But what's actually what happened as we got it cleared up, as the deliverances came, then the bad stuff was actually removed, and they asked, could we continue to come out here? And I said, well, yes. I mean, you definitely, because I want to know. I mean, I know
What you do?
curiosity. I want to know. I want to know because I know there's good ones here too. There's children here, and they're still here. They're
You can
everywhere.
hear him.
And so I have heard so many amazing voices through the Tucson Ghost Society, and that they have captured on our property, and the good ones and the bad ones. One of them, like the dogs were all barking, and they're in there, Bob, and she's like, she didn't know we had a dog named Eli. Okay, at the time he was a new kind of a puppy.
Hmm.
And one of the things that they were saying, and we weren't there, we were in our house, all, huddled and trying to be quiet, but the dogs had been barking that night. And so one of the things that Becky had said in the room that night in the cabin was something about those dogs, like, I wish the dogs would be quiet or something, she said. And the spirit says Eli, because and she didn't know Eli, what he is, the one that barks. And so the spirit is over there with them, ghost, and tells her that the dog that's barking is Eli. That's how much they know what's happening. I mean, they are very
Of
aware.
course you do. Yeah.
And there's one man, the spirit man, that we have a turtle enclosure, a desert tortoise enclosure out to the corner of the house. And one night they're out there and they're kind of talking, but quietly to each other. And apparently, when they went back to listen to what, at the end of when they go through their research of what was happening, there was a man's voice that says, shh, be quiet to them.
Ah,
But they didn't know. They didn't hear it till
no.
later. But now every time I go by the tortoise enclosure, I'm like, hello, sir. I mean, I can't see this one. Sometimes I can see them very clear, but I still don't. But I'd like, there's a man out there telling people to be quiet on the
Gee,
property.
I know you've talked about it, but so have you seen shadow people yourself then?
Oh yeah, see that? Then that's the thing. Like people were seeing. I saw the shadow man. Every one of us saw him, and we drew. So during this time, like I draw spirits for my clients. I started doing that. I don't know, over a decade for sure.
Yeah.
And when I met Joe, my husband, who you just met a minute ago, like he had given me, I met him through my work, and he had given me my very first sketch pad. Before I just sketched them on doodle pads, what I saw in sessions. And it wasn't always people. It was, if the body's energy is off, I could draw what I saw in the body. So that's part of the remote viewing part that happened during the accidents. But so the shadow person was discussed also on the Dead Files, but we had already been seeing this, and several people that had lived on the property, like they would tell me like they saw this person, they would describe it, and in the rooms, like all of a sudden somebody would be in the room and something would just, and it was not good. This was not a good time. So all of a
No.
sudden the dark presence would come through the room, and it just felt like death. Like, so it was very frightening. We were very frightened a lot of the time. It was a gradual process, um, up until the Dead Files. And then with the Dead Files, it really did get worse. I mean, if it had been up to me, we had our house for sale right after that. We had put signs up, but literally the Dead Files came out, but the pandemic was already happening, but they had come that November in 2019, like right before Thanksgiving. So here we are,
Right.
it's already, let's say, January, February, March, trying to sell this property, but we couldn't when that pandemic hit. Everything stopped as
Oh,
well.
everything stops. Yeah.
So we were forced. And then instead of me being at work all day with my clients and getting out of here, we were here all day, and it was really escalating. But yeah, so the shadow stuff was was always bad. But as I started to find out more about, as people would has started to see that show, the Dead Files show, my neighbors or different people, and they started to recognize us as we go to the grocery store or the dollar store
Oh,
or wherever we live in the country. And so I started getting people stories. They started to tell me what they had seen in their homes on the same property, but in different locations. It's
oh,
a big area that was once a ranch, a big ranch. And so, and there's little subdivisions all around. Like we're in the country, we're on land, but when you leave out of this dirt road, you go in, there's other dirt roads, but there's also some other
yeah.
communities, right? And so I started to hear the same description of what we had been seeing. And so it wasn't just us this was happening to, it was a lot of different people. And so much so that when I did decide to finally do this documentary, I just took my phone and I went and filmed people. And I said, "What did you see?" And a lot of those people that are in the documentary, um, I filmed them on my phone, and I got what they had seen. And our location here is really, it's so bizarre because we have um, a mix of things. Not only has there been UFOs sighted here, there has, and the shadow people and the spirits, but the tribal land of the Holcomb is here, and we are right on
Oh,
that.
right.
Yeah. And there, I mean, we're literally really close to what's called the Brawley Wash. I could walk there. And that used to be a thriving community it used to be a river
Right.
that went through until at some point they started to shut the tributaries down. So it would flow one certain area. But back in the old days, this was literally, they had tons of people right here on our land living, and this was a community where people would come through the rivers, and so you could get all the way from California all the way down this river to here or all over.
Oh,
And so my journey began when I got here, because when I got here, I literally was driving down this road to come meet Joe for the first time at his house. And I was driving down this dirt road, and I'm like, I have been here before. I've never had been here before, but I felt like
that was the thing.
I have
Yeah.
been here before. It felt like home. I still get chills. It felt like this was my home. So I do believe in past lives.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
At work, all of a sudden I'll be like flying with, all of a sudden I'll be like with a client or a loved one, or or even if I'm just in a meditation, then all of a sudden I just like I'm there into another place. And so what I see and I draw, and it really always corresponds to today. Somehow there's a spirit in there that's trying to communicate, or you're in a land that once was a different place, but it's the same land you're at. So there's some sort
Yeah.
of connection for me here. And
Trust me.
the puzzle was to un that's why the book was like I saw things through veils. It was like the veils. Even here I didn't see a lot at first, but I started to hear, and then or I started to see, and then it's like I grew from being here as a remote viewer, if that makes sense. It was like a learning place.
But I think the veil where you are now is so thin you can see
Right.
more now than you'll ever see. And I think there'll be more for you to come.
Yeah. And just the other day, I was listening to one of your programs, and you had a remote viewer on. And I really want to get him on my show and talk to him. And I do not remember his name right now, but he had the most fascinating stories that you guys were talking about. And I really related to him. And I think he said that he was trying, it was good for him to talk about what his experiences were, because he doesn't, he's not working like he was, like he worked for the
That's
government.
right.
And but I remember him saying it was really good for him to be able to share what had happened, his different stories of what he saw. And so I would love to have him on our
I'll
show.
look him up for you. I'll
Yeah,
have a look at the previous programs and have a look,
yeah, it was
and I
really
will get in
recent.
touch with him for you.
Yeah, that would be great. And because there is something about this, like when you are given the opportunity, like I never had that opportunity when I mean, I remember being very intuitive, and I remember as a kid, I remember seeing my grandfather, Poppy, and I remember having this dream that my grandfather Poppy was sitting in, and he lived in the country in Arkansas. And
Yeah.
so I think I had these things before, but somehow they just kind of went away at a young age. And then he was, I was sitting there with my little toy horse that I still have today, an Appaloosa horse. And I was on the table and I was trying to talk to him at his kitchen table, but he wouldn't talk. He was just looking at me, but he wouldn't talk. And I was so upset about that. And I remember telling my mom the next day that I had this really bad dream. And that was the day my grandpa had died. My mom told me my grandpa had died that day that I was telling. So he was dying during the time that I was having that dream.
Mm,
He came to talk to me, and
yes.
I'll never forget that, because I think that was really who I probably was back then. I was very intuitive, but yet somehow life changed that, and it took those accidents before I could actually be born again in with abilities. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I've had shadow people come through that wall where the window is to the right of me and walking through the front of the TV, that one, and into this wall.
Right.
And I thought, who the hell's that? And I'm looking, and
Yeah.
it's during the day, so I can see the shadow person.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, what's that? And then one evening, I'm watching telly at the back of me here in the chair, and a alien figure head was in the mirror looking at me.
Yeah.
Alien head like that,
So okay.
bald, and it was an
Right.
alien head in the mirror. And I'm looking, I thought, what's that there? And then it vanished. And when I measured it at the back of my chair, I've got a chair at the back of here, that green chair, recliner, and I measured it from floor. It had to be 5'8" tall, whatever
Okay.
it was. And I thought, you know, It's just a strange. We've seen Paul's seen aliens down below in his flats. It's been lots of activity, and it's strange. When Paul bought the building in all them years ago, it was the building on the street then. There's houses at both sides now, and across the road. It was an old lady who had it. Paul didn't
Hmm.
know. Anyway, when he bought it, there were a knock at the door. Believe it or not, it was a bloke, and he was an exorcist come to
Whoa.
his door. He said, I believed you bought this property. I would like to come in. Oh, I went, you what? And he had four children, all girls. And he said, I'd like to go to the top room where I am now. He said, I need to go up there. So he went upstairs, but Paul went with him. And anyway, he didn't realise, but Paul said, my oldest daughter was at the back of us. So he said to Tom Willis to call him this exorcist then. He was the only one in the UK at that time to call him Tom Willis. He died now, unfortunately. Paul went, I want you out of this house now. Because he said something like, who sleeps in this room? So Paul said, oh, my daughter. He said, I wouldn't have your daughter sleeping in this room. And then he turned around and daughter was there. So he said, right, I want you out. So Paul kicked him out. And Paul didn't realise, but when he was cleaning the house, he had all these bags, black bags, full of letters. And we think she was a psychic medium at that time, this old lady. So he burnt all them letters, and now, because he's into the paranormal, he's wrote books on it, on truth proof and everything like. He said, I wish I could have had them letters now and read every one of them. There might have been something in it, in about this house, why it was on its own.
Were you ever
Straight.
able to, did you get to investigate what the house was prior to people moving in or this building?
Well, the old lady who had it had died, so he couldn't find any information out from it because where the house stood, there were no houses at that side, none at that side, and none across the road. They only start building once Paul moved in. So it was like a house on its own
Yeah.
in the town centre, basically. And he went, oh, I wish they'd kept them layers now. It's just one of those things in life where you want to get rid of lots of rubbish, thinking, oh, that's rubbish. Sling that, sling that. And he used to come up to the house at weekends to do work, so we were a joiner. And in this room here, where I am now, he had a bed. Like I could sleep on it at weekends. And he woke up one night, and all the railings at the top of the stairs were all glowing white, as though something was around him. Don't know if it were an alien or not, and he thought he saw an alien face. So there's been lots of activity in the house. He stopped at the moment in my room, in my lounge where I am now.
Yeah.
I get the odd time in my bedroom where I feel as though somebody's jumping on my bed at night time. Feels like children jumping on it. But it don't worry me now. It would have done when I first moved in, but because I'm into the paranormal and all that now, it doesn't affect me like it would have done years ago.
Right.
It's a shame we didn't know a lot about this woman and why this exorcist wanted to come to the house.
Well, what's amazing is what I'm learning from the exorcists that I work for or work with is this group of people that are helping, they're all very intuitive. They're very much in alignment. Bishop Joshua was talking the other day on the show about how he had been he had seen the image of a man in a hallway. He was just like deported, ported. He was just like brought into this place, and he
Yeah.
saw this image of a person, a man, and that man was saying that he was murdered. And it ended up that he was just about to meet this woman, a nurse or some. I always get the story messed up, but the gist was this was her brother. Her brother had died, and she always felt like it was a murder, that he was murdered, but they said that it wasn't. But the spirit appeared for Bishop Joshua to tell him that it was. And he didn't even know this woman, but they met. So he was supposed to meet this woman that was the person's sister of the person that he saw. Do you understand? It was like a complex puzzle, but they're very
Yeah.
intuitive. So most likely you were this exorcist was just drawn to come up there and trying to help, because they can, a lot of them can see, and a lot of them are in a way psychic. I mean, I believe that we all have gifts, and these
We
gifts of
do.
spirit, which
We do.
before, I mean, after the exorcist things happened with us, I was thinking that my gifts might have, some of them were tainted, and that I was tricked in a lot of the things I saw. And it was very scary for me to put my family at risk anymore, to work on people in that way. I took a whole year off. I really did. And I devoted myself to trying to figure this out. And then the more exorcists just kept coming into my life and then I, started to co-produce the show. But I learned that yes, it's okay as long as we use discernment, as long as we can find ways to really understand that. How can we test these spirits? How can we know that they are the real thing, or if they are uh, the sneaky bad ones?
Oh, yeah.
In
Yeah.
your house, and Brent Thomas has talked about this before. Like, there are some Native American tribes that actually believe that shadow people are here to teach us lessons, and they're good. They're good spirits. But sometimes we don't see them correctly, because when we see them, they look like a shadow, but really it's that they're in another dimension, and they have a shade of not a color, not like, it's not white, it's not, you can't see them. So they almost present like a shadow as they walk. Because I'm sure that maybe your place had something. What I'm getting at, I know this sounds what's weird, but I believe that whatever that land was that you're on, if we knew what kind of land, where that land was, and you looked, I bet you there was a place where the star people and all that was like
Mm.
you were in already a place that's, we're underground. Are you near water? Do you have
We're,
water?
we're not. We're about 500 yards away from the water, from the
Oh,
North
there you go.
Sea.
Yeah, see? So the water has it's just something about water and the earth. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is. You just have that whole areas. Have you checked with your neighbors or other people to see if they felt these things too?
No, but Marie across the road have seen strange things in this house in early morning. She said she saw a blue light come through the roof of this building, straight through my room, my bedroom, straight down to Paul's, um, straight down the building completely. She said,
Wow.
I was poorly that night, and I'm thinking, oh, I can't sleep. I'll just watch telly. And her lounge can see over across the road and can see our building
Okay, so
where
okay.
and she's seen shadow people on the flat below.
Hmm.
Um, there's
So
three flats
she's watching your
here. Paul
building.
lives in the bottom one.
Wow. So she's watching from across the way, and she looks out. She's
Neil
able to.
lives in the middle one, and I live in the top one. Still flat.
Okay.
Um, There's been seeing things on the corridor during the day. She said, I could see somebody walking in. She said, well, there's nobody there during the day. Um, it's a strange place anyway, but it's strange. But Paul writes about phenomena and all that, I'm into all that. So there's
Yeah.
two of us in that building go out and investigate as well the paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a very active area. And I think you've had Lala Bright on, right? Lala Bright.
Oh
On
yeah, I've
the
had Lala on quite a
Yes.
few times.
So they were just talking on their program a few weeks ago about how their neighbor sees the same thing your neighbor is seeing. They see these lights coming into their house from across the way, and they'll like, we just saw a light come right through your house. So obviously, if people are aware and conscious of these things and keep a lookout like your neighbor's doing, people can see, and I, like you said, I think the veil is definitely getting thinner to where they are
I
literally,
definitely,
yeah. And
definitely.
then not even to mention like CERN and all those things that are purposely opening portals even more right now. It's somebody told me that, what is that? It's some sort of frequency of the world. Do you know what that is? They said it's like the highest it is right now. Like lately, it has been so high, like it's off the charts. The Schumann frequency or something. Have you heard of that?
Something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can't remember. Something that
It's,
a friend of mine just told me, like it's so high right now, like it's something's happening, like it's off the charts high of frequency in
I
our
think this
on our Earth.
year, I think this year you're going to find out more about the alien phenomena. I think there's going to be more sightings this year.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a major sighting of an alien craft in quite in quite a few big cities like London or New York, or where thousands of people are going to see this
Right.
actual phenomena. I think
We
this is
do.
going to be the year. I think they're just. I think to me the aliens are not frightened, but they don't want to scare us. They want to come back to Earth to mine minerals and things for the souls. But they're just. I think they're frightened, but there'll be hysteria because there's
Right.
not a lot of people. There's lots of people out there that are frightened, and other people are saying, "Oh, it's only an alien. It's only an alien craft."
Yeah. Well, I think they're already here. I really do. I think that
They're
they're,
amongst us.
yeah,
There's loads of
definitely.
them amongst us, walking amongst us as well.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I feel like I know I've communicated with that type of energy, and anything I feel like I've ever communicated with is from that perspective has always been very. I don't feel threatened by that. In fact, one of the strange things, I finally just started to talk about this, but I will all of a sudden kind of like be in that space, and then I feel like there's people there. I can see them. They're like, I'm in an auditorium or something. And I've talked to a couple people, and most people don't even understand. But one lady listened to me, and she's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's almost like they can see us. And I don't know, it was weird, but it's happened many times to where it's so there's something out there, and they watch what we're doing, but it's like we're in an auditorium. Usually
I
it's
think,
always
I
when
think
I'm working
sometimes
on people.
alien craft will show just to let us see it for ourselves.
Right.
I have been to Bempton where me and Paul go, and we've had somebody new, and we might have been up there 6 months, never seen nothing. We fetched somebody new up there, and as we're walking down the path, you say, "What's it like up here?" I say, "Well, we see these orange lights," and what happens? They appear for him. They appear because he's asked for them.
Right.
And we get to a bird platform because it's a bird sanctuary where we go as well, like
Okay.
overlooking the sea. And we stand on them, and these lights appear. 13 lights appeared into a 20-minute spell. And we even got them on camera. Now, if he hadn't been there, would they appeared for us? Or did they want to show him them?
Yeah. So they're like, but you're communicating literally. You're kind of there and you've communicated and they're coming, they're showing you. They're there. You should share some of that. Share some of your
Yeah,
footage. Yeah.
yeah, I've got one on TikTok. I took a little
Oh,
video
okay.
of these orange lights. One night we went somewhere
Ooh,
different. We went somewhere different. It was Saturday night, and he says, "Oh, let's go um, down to Ruston tonight and church." And on way back, he went, "I want to go back to this place again." And we got back. We both got out at car. Paul went, "Look at them lights." So I got my night vision camera out, and I took pictures of them coming up in the sky. Amazing. You
wow.
know, did they wanted us to see them because we'd come back? We missed them. We'd already been to this spot once and spent 15 minutes, drove off, come back again, got out the car, and he appeared.
Wow. That's
Amazing.
amazing.
I
Have you
put a little.
always have you
Sorry.
always have you always had these encounters since you were little that you've been like that too?
Yeah, I saw an alien craft when I was about 16. I
Hmm.
got ridiculed about that really because the three of us who saw it over a golf course. I went home. One of the lads, believe it or not, went to ring a paper up and give them my name, saying, "We've just seen an alien craft." And they said, "What's his name?" They said, "Oh, Robert Brown." And I didn't know it. It was like a night paper. The night after, it says, "Man sees flying object over Halifax," and my name.
Wow.
I went to work and they went, "You must have been drunk. You must have been." I said, "I've never been anywhere." I said, "I've been playing football." Yeah, I got ridiculed for that, really. For weeks on end, people get saying to me, "What you see up there?" I said, "I know what I saw, you know, but I didn't want anybody to go to the paper."
And then it did.
Yeah, one of those things in life, innit?
Well, now it just shows like, look, you were it was meant to be like you were actually in the paper. It went that far from what you saw, you know. It was
Yeah.
you were documenting way, right when you started.
So there's lots of things happened. You know, I love going out and investigating wherever it is, wherever it may be. Just love going out and with Paul to interview people as well. What they've seen. We interviewed somebody not long ago. A lady rang to say, but she got an alien in her house. And Paul kept saying to me, "We've got to ring this woman. But will you ring her up and we'll go around?" And I felt really sorry for the lady. She said, "It's around me all the time. I can see it on that wall." I said, "Well, I can't see it." She said, "But it goes away when you come in, when you Paul came in." Anyway, we looked round the house. We had tea with her. We had biscuits with her. And she said, "I've been to doctors just to see if I was going mad. In case I got Alzheimer's. I passed all the tests. I've had a brain scan. There's nothing wrong with my brain." And she said, "But it's still here." Anyway, I've kept in touch with her. So sometimes I keep ringing her up and asking her, "How are you?" She said, "It's still here, Bob." And I think, oh my God, she lives on the road. It's difficult for her. And she said, "It gives me headaches." You know, it's so I'm
So
going
the
to,
temperature.
ring her this weekend and go for a coffee with her, take her into town, and tell me if it follows her.
Well, that's good. Well, maybe the alien will go with you.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But what you got planned for the future then?
The future is very interesting. Well, I'm happy to say that that long time of doing the documentary and just doing it and trusting like that's what I'm supposed to do. Well, it has a life of its own, literally. And I met a filmmaker, and he helped me to find a company that would I could submit it to, and they actually okayed it. It's going to be distributed through
Oh, brilliant.
worldwide multimedia, which is a big distribution company. So it's just been such a process to do that. And just God is just, I don't know what else. I mean, I can't even think about like, but apparently the story is going to get out there, and it's already in process of something as soon as I find out any more. But at least it was accepted. And
Brilliant.
what's the likelihood of really, what's the likelihood of that? Like, I've never done this, but I mean, I literally wasn't a media person, except I was in front of the camera, but I was never behind the scenes.
No,
So
no.
it's been a really fun process, but it's actually got picked up. So I will keep people posted on that. We've got the new book. They've got the new show. I always get so hard to think of it. Like I said, it's like explaining the unexplainable. So there's a lot happening. The book is Through the Veil, and it's also about I can't remember the second part, but that's mainly the title. And that will
Oh,
be out.
yes.
I'm going to self-publish that, so I'll put that out, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of there's some music that I wanted to that comes along with this. I've already finished, but there's a song called Shadows of the Desert that I actually wrote for the ending credits, but we decided not to put them on the ending credits. But I have this music video with the ending credits as this, and it's about the spirits talking to me, which they
Right.
do here, and it's called Shadows of the Desert. That's already on iTunes, and the documentary is called Shadows of the Desert. It's weird, there is another Shadows of the Desert documentary out there. I got it for Christmas. One of my family, I haven't watched it yet, but there's another Shadows of the Desert documentary, but that's not ours. Ours will be, it'll say Sacred Land, Arizona series, or and what it is, it's a series of three, because I made three different series and we put them together. So it's almost like watching a mini series.
All right.
And that's how it is. It's just kind of neat. So it's 3-part series. But other than that, there's one other book I want to write now that I finished this one, and that's going to be about fasting. So I'm working on that right now. It's about spiritual fasting and how God can work through us with fasting. I've been fasting every first Sunday for almost, well, it's been over 3 years during the process of the pandemic, fasting for America. And so Joe and I would both do that every first Sunday, and we'd fast all day and pray, or we'd have different ways of fasting. He couldn't fast all day sometimes, so we'd have sections. But then there's spiritual fasting to help cleanse us, to get us closer to God. And
Yes.
so, and I know you know a lot about that too, I'm sure. But a lot of people don't. But that's kind of been a journey of mine, and I really wanted to write about that. So that's will be the second book I'm working on right now. And I don't know how long I have on this earth. I mean, you never know. And so it's like, if we can get as much done as we can while we're still here, that's what I try to look at it that way.
Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant. I'll have to come on your show as well.
Yes. And I think you can, but it would be 7 p.m.
Excuse me.
So it's
What
7.
time?
This one is, we have and it's a producer, Stan Fikes, with Web Radio Network, sweetest man ever, but it's at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that might be pretty early in the morning. How many hours difference are we? because it's
Well,
right now it's 12
if
o'clock.
it's Pacific, it's 7 hours ahead.
Okay,
I'll be 7 hours ahead of you. So it'll be
okay.
like 2 o'clock in the morning.
You're 7. Yeah, see, that's hard for you, 2 in the morning. But we could do a I could
Recording.
record you and I could put you on it, but it's just not the same because you don't get to talk to Bishop Joshua. And it's,
Yeah, I know.
but it would be great if you're ever up at. I know I just interviewed about a couple of months ago a lady from Sweden, and it was 3 in the morning there.
Yeah, it would be.
But she got up.
Well, we'll have to wait and see about that. But I'll have a look at that guy who was talking about remote viewing.
Yeah, it was so great.
I'll
I
have a
think
look.
it was a recent one.
A recent one.
Yeah, it was. It was only just a few weeks ago.
Right, I'll just stop the show. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you to everyone. Thank you to my guest. She's beautiful, Mercedes. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. Good night and God bless wherever you are around the world. Take care and have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you.